If you want to make sure you stay in good conversation, you gotta tune in to Coffee and Conversation with Colette. That's me. Thursday mornings from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. on the only station, WHPR TV 33. See you soon. Great, amazing morning to you. Rise and shine up and at 'em. It's a phenomenal new day. If indeed you're able to hear me, you're able to see me, you are batting 1,000. You hear me? No matter what it is, we have life. And you have to know that you can have it in abundance, no matter what the situation looks like. But we're going to get into that. You're officially tuned into Coffee and Conversation with Colette. And I'm Colette, and y'all know I do my curtsy, because that's what I do to show reverence to you, is because as we state, what we know and we understand, that you could be anywhere, watching anything. Now, you won't be able to contribute to anything the way that you contribute to who we are and where we are at WHPS TV 33. Because, that's just who we are, and that's what we do. We're going to make sure that you're a part of a conversation that matters. That's the only kind of conversation you really should want to have. So whether you are watching us by TV 33 or Comcast 91 or Roku or streaming live, great, amazing morning to you. However we meet you this morning, great morning to you. I pray that you are encouraged. I pray that I meet you in a space that you know that you have the opportunity to have abundance. It is about shaping your narrative. It is about making your moments matter. I know a lot of us were totally shocked, and life happens. Let me just say that to all of us. And I know that from a national and international standpoint. We just heard of the immediate homegoing of Kim Porter, who is the wife, former girlfriend and mother of 4, what it appears to be amazing young children with Sean Combs and one of the sons by Albie Shore. But at 43, she passed away in her sleep on yesterday. And so I just want that to set in for a minute. We're just so saddened by that. And we're sorry for that. And we're sending energy to her family and to her friends and to all of us who just mourn a life, a beautiful soul, and what we believe as a life gone too soon. And so, but then I'm going to challenge us as we are about to have this conversation that a lot of times we have literal deaths and we have figurative deaths. And so whereas we mourn the literal, some of us are walking around in a figurative death as well, because we don't want to acknowledge certain things that are the lifeline to our existence. And yes, I said it, the lifeline. So just because you don't acknowledge it, it doesn't go away. Just because you sit and say, okay, I'm going to get to it tomorrow, doesn't mean that it doesn't have a kind of immediate impact on you. And so that's the take that I'm going to have on us this morning. I'm about to bring him in the building. It is our Friday with Speak Rock. We had to move him back. He's a busy man. And so last Friday, he had some things, his schedule was booked. So you know what happens. We have to make it happen anytime that we can have him on the show to have the complete conversation. That's what we're going to do. So great, amazing morning to you, Rock.
Hey, great morning, Colette. How you doing?
I'm amazing, thank you. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Oh man, it's beautiful to be here with you. You're
Oh,
looking
I'm
beautiful
glad.
and sunny today.
It's a little cold outside. It's cold in the day. So, we got to pull out our little raccoons or furs or possums or pigeons, whatever it is, we flying, and we got to do what we do. So, it's a pleasure to have you. And Rock, before, because this is Rock's time. This is Rock's time. So, before I turn it over to you, I just want to give a summation. I don't know if you've been following the show this week. I talked about Animal Farm. Okay. I don't know if you remember George Well, I don't know. It should have been mandatory reading for you, King.
I know,
King. Right. But George Orwell's Animal Farm, and it talked about the whole premise of when you feel that you are disadvantaged, the animals on the farm felt that the farm owner was reaping all the benefits, and so they created a revolt. And so then they moved him out, and they created these laws, and there was a level of hierarchy, and the pigs determined if they were the smartest. Right. And next thing you know, the oppressed people, the oppressor of the pigs, or who felt that they were the pigs as the leaders, started oppressing the rest of the animals. So next thing you know, he moved into the house and he started drinking alcohol and wearing clothes and sleeping in the bed. And so he turned into the human form of an oppressor. And so I asked, at the end of the day, if we don't have a blueprint, if you don't have a plan, your own plan, and you keep reiterating what you see everyone else doing that has proven to be to your detriment, then what outcome do you think you're going to have? And so I asked for America in its entirety, are we the new animal farm? Is that what it looks like? And so today we're talking about emotional.
Yeah.
So you say emotional health.
Yes.
I'm going to add a piece to it, everyone.
Please.
Emotional intelligence. And so I'm going to give you the opportunity, platform to open up. And then you know how I do, how we do.
Yeah.
We're going to ebb and flow, and we're going to put some different components in to help shape a complete conversation. Because we got time today, everybody. Yeah. This is our 2 hour of power. So we got some time, and we're going to take this into some different areas. But that's the intro for where we are today. So how's that? Rock out. I'll turn it over to you because, you know, we always speak a little bit before the conversations. And everyone, not for the in-depth nature of the conversation, but just the title. So Rock said, what do you think about emotional health? Let's have at it. So please, how did that come about for us this morning?
Well, the way it came about is, as everybody knows, look, the holiday season is upon us.
Sure.
You know, it's really here. And statistically speaking, in America and probably all over the world, you know, when you talk about suicides, when you talk about seasons of depression, okay, they even contribute depression to the cold weather. You know, the fact that people want to go to a type of hibernation, if you will. And at the end of the day, moods change, emotions change, mental health or what have you. And I like what you did. Like you say, look, I want to add something to it. Absolutely. And I just said emotional health because, you know, I'm not a licensed doctor. You know, I'm not a therapist or what have you. But I am an individual who has experienced a variety of emotional ups and downs, ebbs and flows, if you will, where I needed help. Okay, and I'm not ashamed to say that. And I believe the studio audience can appreciate that, or the listening audience can appreciate that, because we've all been through something. Can we be honest?
Can you just stay right there? Did you just hear what Rock said? So at the end of the day, in our truth and transparency, we all have been through something. The truth is, I believe the majority of us live in something. We don't go through something. Did you hear what I said? I think it's a very different individual who goes through it. Says, guess what? Right now, this is how I feel. I'm going to acknowledge how I feel. We're going to have a conversation. In my humanness, I'm going to live in that emotion. So whether I feel alone, I feel depressed, I feel discouraged, I feel whatever it is that you feel, and then say, you know what? I feel it.
And look, I love what you're doing, because like you said, the key word I took from there was we got to have a conversation. Because look, you know, you need someone to talk to. You need someone to share with. You need somewhere to somebody. And we get heavily sensitive in this day and age. You know, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's technology that's separating us. We claim to be so busy, and maybe we are busy as human beings. But if we don't be mindful, it goes back to what you were saying about the story, about the book. Look, if we keep following a certain path, we're going to find ourselves in this rat race or this hamster wheel of repeating practices that aren't good. And what I mean by that is we got to be available for one another. Okay. I get it that sometimes some people might have a little bit more than what you can deal with, and you're like, my God, they're calling me again. But guess what? It goes to the intelligence that you're speaking about. We have to be mindful and intelligent enough to say, you know what, if I can't handle your situation, which I probably can if I'm not a licensed trained therapist, I need to know where the resources are. Intellect, okay? I need to know where I can point you, guide you. And some could be saying, I can hear people now. Look, it's easier said than done. Some people don't want to go. They don't want to go to a doctor. They don't want to go to a therapist. But that doesn't mean that we don't stop trying. Okay? So, you know, I just want to just kind of jump into it real quick, and let's do this, because I believe we're going to have great conversation. I brought my little book here with me.
Absolutely. And let me just say, and I love the intro of this cover of his book. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Love that.
Well, let's do this. Let's talk about this real quick.
Okay, very good.
This right here is my journal. Okay, you could just go to any you know, a department store,
Family Dollar, you can go Dollar Tree, any place, and get an amazing journal.
And the message was, you know, related to me. You know, the gravity of the message is just powerful for me. So I was all over it. And inside of it is just blank pages with some inspirational quotes. And what I do, I use this as my journal to record positive things in my life or things that I need to know.
Okay.
So I encourage you, please get one of these.
Absolutely.
All right?
Yeah.
Now, what we want to do, the first thing I want to talk about is, getting joy.
Okay.
I just want to get right to it.
Okay.
I'm a prior service military guy, right? So what we do in the military, we do what's called planning backwards.
Okay.
What's the ultimate goal? What's the objective? Where are we getting to?
Okay.
So my thing is joy. And some people will say, well, why are we starting with joy?
We'll start with joy.
All right.
And I'm going to write this down because you all know I keep notes and I'm going to write this down. So joy. We're starting with joy this morning, everyone.
Absolutely. And I would tell you this is the reason. Kurt Franklin had a quote in his song Smile where he said, I don't want you to just be happy.
Okay.
Because that means you need to have something happening.
Right.
I want you to have joy. Now, a lot of my theologians, they can run with it and be like, joy, unspeakable joy.
Right.
The joy of the Lord is our strength. I get it, but we're going to keep it simple today. And the reason why I say what I took from what Kurt Franklin was saying was, you know what? Your state of mind, your health of how happy you are or how joyful you are or how positive you are should not be predicated upon what's happening. Okay?
So stay there, stop.
All right.
Did you all get it? So we're going to slow walk this thing. So we're going to, because this is serious. This is so serious. I think this conversation is probably one of the most serious conversations because it is the catalyst of every other aspect in your life. So joy is different than being happy.
Yes.
Let me just, period.
Yes.
There is a difference between joy and being happy. And at the end of the day, again, there are people, I don't believe that they believe that they can have joy. I don't believe that they believe that no matter what the challenge is, that you cannot have joy in the challenge. Because now I'm going to go someplace else with you this morning because I'm a Christian. I believe in Christ. So where I'm not talking about a doctrine, I'm talking about my innate belief in a higher being, the spirit man in me, God in my life. And so I believe there's a song that New Destiny wrote called Hold Out. And sometimes the words go, sometimes I feel alone. Sometimes I need someone to cry on, but deep inside I know that joy is going to come if I hold out. The sun is going to shine if I hold out. Weeping may endure for a while. Trouble doesn't last always. But joy comes in the morning. Just wait until the morning. So at the end of the day, I say that if indeed that is a space that you're in, then I'm going to go to a biblical text because if we say that we have faith, we're functioning under grace, and we say that we have faith. So why is it that we feel that all this stuff is insurmountable? You're supposed to have joy for the simple fact of knowing, if you look at the 23rd Psalm, you want to go through it? The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Do you get that? Shepherd, I shall not want, underline. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. And I can speed on a little bit because at the end, the last verse, I think that is so prevalent. I need y'all to get it. What does it say? Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. So if that is who you know yourself to be and who you believe yourself to be, why is it that you can't look at what is happening to you as a part of life, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And that it does not take your joy away. Because there are people who are grieving this morning because their loved ones didn't wake up to see a new day.
Yes.
They don't have a chance to have that joy. No matter what is happening, joy. Because you realize that it can change anything. I'm just asking you, what are you thinking about it this morning? It's going to be heavy on you this morning because we're going to challenge you to look at who you are. It's not about the scenario. It's who you are. Because who you are dictates how you handle and what happens in your life. I'm just asking. And Rock has a plethora of things, some steps. But what I'm going to do, I want us to go to the clip really quick, okay? Daniel Goleman talks about emotional intelligence. There are about 4 or 5 steps. It's about a 5-minute clip. I want you all to take a look at the clip. I want you to be comfortable and mindful of the conversation because it's definitely going to fit into who we are discussing as we are striving to be emotionally healthy. So let's go to the clip.
Refers to how well we handle ourselves and our relationships. There are 4 domains. Self-awareness, knowing what we're feeling, why we're feeling it, which is a basis of, for example, good intuition, good decision-making. Also, it's a moral compass. The second part is self-management, which means handling your distressing emotions in an effective way so that they don't cripple you, they don't get in the way of what you're doing, and yet attuning them to them when you need to so that you learn what you must. Every emotion has a function. Also, marshaling positive emotions, getting ourselves involved, enthused about what we're doing, aligning our actions with our passions. The third is empathy, knowing what someone else is feeling. And the fourth is putting that all together in skilled relationship. So that's what I mean by emotional intelligence. There are many definitions out there. The part of the brain, it turns out, that supports emotional and social intelligence is actually the last circuitry of the brain to become anatomically mature. And because of neuroplasticity, the brain shapes itself according to repeated experiences. So my argument is, hey, we should be teaching kids regularly, over time, in a systematic way, self-awareness, self-management, empathy, and social skill. And in fact, there are now enough programs, and they've been around enough in schools, that they're about to publish a huge meta-analysis looking at hundreds of schools and kids that had the program versus those that don't. Guess what? All antisocial behavior, disruption in class, violence in school, goes down 10%. Pro-social behavior, liking school, well-behaved, up 10%. Academic achievement scores up 11%. So it really pays. Executive function, which is mediated by the prefrontal lobe, both helps you manage your emotions and helps you pay attention. So as kids learn these skills, they also learn basic learning skills. I think that the fact that that was an argument was one thing that caught people's attention. Then there was a little chapter on called Managing with Heart, which argued that leaders who were sons of a bitch were actually defeating the company's own mission. And I think that made a lot of people happy because they work for people like that. I don't know, some people gave it to other people because they thought they needed help in this domain. I'm sure there's a zillion reasons why people like the book. I know IQ has been going up for 100 years as children encounter a more sophisticated cognitive environment as they grow. I don't know that we're becoming more emotionally intelligent. I like to hope we would, but I think that the number of intergroup wars going on, the intergroup hatred going on, the levels of familial abuse, in other words, indicators of emotions out of control in dangerous ways, don't look that great, which is why I'm a very strong proponent of getting these social emotional learning programs in every school worldwide. You have to remember that emotional intelligence is a range of abilities: self-awareness, emotional self-management, empathy, social skills. Women tend to be better than men on average at empathy, particularly emotional empathy, sensing in the moment how the other person is feeling. And also it's at social skills, at keeping things feeling good between people and a group. Men, on the other hand, tend to be better on average at self-confidence, particularly in groups, and at managing distressing emotions. But what's very interesting is if you look at leaders who are in the top 10%, there's no difference between the men and the women on any of those variables. In other words, you have a whole human being. So I would say that on average there probably are differences, men and women, in this domain of ability, but as people develop their skills, as people become more effective, they pick up strengths in areas that they need. I think that emotional intelligence is a universal, but it looks different in different places. You know, Japan has a very rigid set of rules of social interaction, lots of subtleties. Americans typically blunder into the Japanese system, don't get what's going on, and you know, it's embarrassing, but they wouldn't recognize necessarily emotional intelligence in Japanese setting. Brazil.
So everyone, I think that that is an amazing overview. I encourage everyone to pick up Daniel Goleman's book, Emotional Intelligence. And I think that I hope that it set the tone for you of where we're trying to go this morning, because there's some various factors that you're identifying being emotionally healthy. And I think that there is an intellectual part of it that we have to be cognizant of. But let me just say, Rock, maybe the real truth of all of it, and I really had to, maybe we should go back to the basics. How do we define emotions? I thought about that. So I'm going to tell you what Webster said. So Webster says, a natural instinctive state of mind deriving from one's circumstances, mood, or relationships with others. Intuitive feeling as distinguished from reasoning or knowledge. Your emotions. And culturally, how are we taught to manage emotions? Bam!
Which culture?
Yeah, our culture. So let's say as people of color, African American people, how were you taught in growing up to manage emotions?
Well, I would say this is even different. Even within our culture, it's still broken down into little subcultures, to where young African American women, young girls, are taught to be different than young boys. So young girls, and even in the African American culture, baby girl, go ahead and cry. It's okay. Well, African American boy, hey, you better suck it up.
Suck it up.
And drive on.
You better not cry. The little boy fall down, and especially.
That's right.
And can't you picture it right now? You're at a football game, or you're at a basketball game where he's playing little league or t-ball, for that matter, and something happens and he gets hit. And what is it? Dad, you better not cry.
Oh, yeah, you better not cry.
Now, the little boy is running to his mama. Hey, mama, and the mama.
Or you can go a step further, even when you talk about reprimand.
Nice.
I mean, you can we will reprimand. We didn't even call that, but we
what do we call it? When you used to get a whooping. Right.
And,
you used to get whooped.
What did mama say? What did grandma say?
What?
You better hush up before I give you something to cry about.
Yeah, you're
like, huh?
It hurts, and what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, so we're scattered. We're mixed everywhere about our emotions. Nice. We're all over the globe. And we don't want to hear this, but this is why we got to have conversations like this and continue going, because as an adults, African American adults in our 30s, our 40s, in this generation, in our generation and older, it's hard for us to admit that we suffer from emotional issues.
Ooh.
And we have emotional trauma through the years.
Ooh, so stop. Did y'all get that? So many of us live in a space of what happened when we were children. We do.
Yeah.
We don't want to talk about, if you bring up the biggest angst and issues or self-confidence issues or why you don't speak up, it will go back to when you were 2 and Big Mama said something. Or when you were 5 and they called you Blackie. Or when you were 6 and you saw something happening as a child and you couldn't speak on it. And people didn't communicate with you about what was happening.
Can I say something really, really important? I'm going to step on some toes when I say this.
Say it.
But I have to say this. One of the things in the arena in which I operate in, being a public speaker, we have a lot of adults who desire to help youth. Okay? I know this is going to step on some toes, but look, I'm saying this because I love you.
Say it.
We like to speak out of our hurt. And we believe the hurt, I was just telling my wife this yesterday, we believe that the hurt we've experienced is going to be that life lesson that we can share and pass forward to younger people, so younger people can be deterred from going down a path of pain.
Come on, Rob.
But you haven't been healed yourself. You carry anger, you carry resentment, you carry pain that has not been healed. Watch this. Because you have not sought out any form of assistance to heal you, be it from the spiritual community, be it from the medical community, or what have you. So even in my field, I see a lot of people who want to be that teacher and want to be that person that's correcting the next generation, but you're still bruised.
You're damaged.
And let me say, you're damaged. You said it. You beat me to it.
You're damaged. Rock was just trying to be kind and didn't want to say it.
Yeah. And let me say this. If we will be so much effective and efficient if we get healed. Yes. Submit yourself to getting healed, please. Yeah. And I mean this. I mean this with everything that's within me. Yeah. Because I tell people all the time, you can talk to a young person and guide them and direct them and try to mold them. But guess what? That young person still has to go back to their home. See, you're there with them as a mentor or some kind of figure, positive figure in their life, only for moments in time. Right. But they live with their mother who got some issues, their father who's locked up and he's institutionalized, a brother that's caught up in the streets. Yes. So guess who has more of a lasting effect on that young person that you're trying to help? Oh, and by the way, on top of it, you still dealing with issues. So are we really being effective? So at the end of the day, all I'm saying is, Colette, please let us listen to what we're saying today, and let's move forward, and let's continue to get help. So let's build on this, Colette.
I totally agree, and I believe that in the truth of all of it, and I'm going to just put it out there.
Okay.
And everyone, and if you feel comfortable enough in calling in, please do so, because that's what this is. It's coffee and conversation, Colette and Rock. Stay there. Why wouldn't you acknowledge a hurt, a pain, an issue, something that happened to you as a child, which has continuously reared its head in your development throughout the years of your life? You can consciously point your finger to how it's had an impact on aspects and decisions that you've made in your life, and you're conscious of it. So why wouldn't you say, you know what, stop. I need to be healthy, and I need to address this issue. Just say, I'm just keep us right there. And that's in every aspect. That's from the political seasoning, because your mind determines how you process things, what you keep doing, why you keep choosing what you choose, who you keep blaming, why you keep blaming what you do. That's a part of your emotional health as well. If you keep thinking someone's going to save you, and you get mad because no one ever does what you expect them to do for you, and then you wonder why it's a problem. I just want to know, what's the harm in saying it?
Well, it's a it's a litany of issues. I mean, a lot of enablers in your life, so you have people who've enabled you. They saw what you're going through, or they saw the pain that you dealt with.
Yes.
And in a lot of ways, they're ignorant themselves about how to address a situation. So I'm talking about family members.
Yeah.
If they never got therapy, because for the longest time, let's be honest, Colette, for the longest time, issues of mental health, behavior health, emotional health, or whatever the case may be, those was taboo in the African American community. When we had mental issues, who did we rely on a lot of times to go to get these issues solved? And I don't want to get off track, but no, we went to the church.
We went to the church. You went to the pastor.
You went to the pastor,
yes.
and this is why the world has an issue with the church now.
Yes.
Because it's been taken and it's been perverted. The intent, the purpose that prayer does work. Prayer works. But what has happened is that we've taken the pure intent of prayer, and people have made a mockery of it, saying like, oh, all we're going to do is pray issues away.
Right.
And it's watering down the spiritual community. And the spiritual community hasn't done a well enough job in standing and saying, hey, look, let's put things in context.
Sure.
Granted, I may be a spiritual leader, but that's where my expertise ends. Mm-hmm. I am not a therapist. Mm-hmm. So we can show you a way, a resource to get therapy. Yeah. So with that being said, we have to take a stand to stop being made a mockery of, and get people what they need. Yeah. And watch this. Stop being prideful, Pastor. Stop being prideful.
Really?
That's not your expertise.
Right. Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane.
Right. I mean, so
get people the help that they need.
Well, and callers, I see you all calling in. We're about to get on the lines. But what do they always say? Prayer without works is dead. And let me just say it. I'm going to stay here because I can speak on it from my family perspective. So I have an amazing, my favorite aunt who suffers from mental illness, schizophrenia. Okay. And for years, her family members would say, oh, you're not praying hard enough. You're not going to God hard enough. You don't speak in tongues. That's why you're not healed. No. Stop. First of all, she needed medication. And you all, because you wanted to put it all on the prayer line, created so much havoc in our family because it was two of us that said, no, she needs prayer and medicine. And because there's a chemical imbalance that's happening physically in her to create a healthy her. Not just, because she ain't praying hard enough. That's true. And so folks didn't have to like it, but it created all kinds of havoc because she wanted to fit in line with what her siblings were saying, and she started believing that she wasn't praying enough. And so how does that work out for us, is what I'm saying. Because, again, it doesn't go away, and you going, of course, the source of God, but you got to do some part of it too.
Yes, yes.
Chemical imbalances, we're human. This is flesh. Do you get that? Organisms, blood, cells, imbalances, chromosomes, those things happen. So you might, when there's an imbalance, you might have some things that need to be balanced out. Hello? That's the intelligence part to say, you know what? If I know this is what this is, and I need some conversation with it, but I might also need some medicinal components as well. That's being intelligent about your emotional health. Because I believe emotional health is directly tied to mental health.
Absolutely.
I think they're one in the actual. I think they're one in the same.
Absolutely.
That's just me. Now, the doctors and all those other folks, they can call in and talk about the in-depth science of it. But I'm just talking about for our day-to-day dynamics of how we deal with things mentally is determined on how we process things.
Because they will compound. They will compound. I mean, you can spiral. If you don't, I was listening when we was listening to the clip. He was talking about managing.
Come on,
your
what did
emotions.
he say? Managing every emotion has a function.
Yes.
Did you get that? Every emotion has a function.
Yes.
There's a function in this thing, and you have to know how to manage them.
And by not managing them correctly, the compounding effect of that is, now they grow into a mental. Now it's in your psyche. Yes. Many of people will tell you that doctors and spiritual leaders alike that the mind is the battlefield. So a lot of times it takes time for things to form. Yeah. And here's the thing. Here's the key, Colette. The same time that it took for you to get in that situation, in that state, why do we think we're going to get out of it in a day?
Right.
No.
Right. 40,
no.
50 years.
Please. Let me not. I don't want to contradict myself anyway because I'm a man of faith as well.
Sure.
I believe in miracles. Yes. God can make it happen in a second. Those are miracles. That is God. That is all predicated upon your faith. But yet and still, we must add our wisdom, knowledge, intellect, intelligence, along with God's power to make things happen. And if it takes more than a day, you just keep on pushing. Yes. And know that it takes more than a day. What does everybody like to say today? Enjoy the process, work the process, or whatever the case may be. It was a process when you got emotionally unraveled. Enjoy the process of getting tightened back up.
Say it. If you are fearless enough to do it.
That's good.
That's
like
why
that.
I just said that.
That's
because
good.
you got to deal with a whole lot of stuff with yourself to say, you know what? In my truth, in my raw,
that's good.
In all of that,
that's good.
Whatever it looks like, I'm going to deal with it.
And watch this. All of us not strong enough to deal with it alone.
Come on.
Sometimes you got to have somebody like Colette. You come to me and be like, Rock, XYZ, this is, be mature enough. Let that person speak. Let that person quit trying to have. Here's the other thing for us who feel we got it together. Quit trying to have the doggone quick answer all the time.
Say it. And belittling how someone feels.
Yes.
Oh, it's okay. oh, you'll get over it. Stop it. No. Let them be in their feelings. What did Drake say? In my feelings? Mm-hmm. Be in your feelings. Because sometimes that's the cleansing that you need to be able to get through another moment. To say, you know what, I'm feeling some kind of way right now. I'm in my feelings. And you know what, and Carlos, I'm about to get to you. Mm-hmm. But I'm happy that Drake did the song, In My Feelings. Okay. Because a lot of times men aren't supposed to be in their feelings. And they think, oh, you're soft because you acknowledge how you feel. Okay. Or I don't understand why you feel the way that you feel. That just because you don't understand it doesn't negate it. You just don't understand it.
Just make sure you're your right feeling. That's my only thing with Drake.
What's the right feeling?
Don't be all jealous.
But that's an emotion.
I know it's an emotion, but manage your emotions.
He's trying. That's why he wrote a song about it. I'm just saying, let's go to the line. Thanks for your patience. Great, amazing morning to you. Caller, you there?
Morning.
Good morning, King.
How you doing this morning, Queen?
Amazing. And you?
Good. And your guests?
Hey, good morning, sir.
Good, brother.
Nice.
You know, Queen.
Yes.
I was blessed get information from the Minister Farrakhan, and he asked all of us in the nation,
okay, to
go through what they called a program that was set up by L. Ron Hubbard.
Okay.
It's called Dynamics, which is auditing. It's a program, but he asked everybody that was a part of the nation to experience it.
Okay.
He didn't ask us to join the Scientology, but what L. Ron Hubbard had was medicine that actually was good for all of us.
Okay.
And that was what you all are talking about, being able to go deep down within ourselves, and bring those impediments up that keep us from advancing like we should. Yeah. Because as you're saying, there are many things that we have experienced in our life, even in the wombs of our mother, even in past history that has been passed on through the sperm and through the ovary. Yeah. And we don't quite understand the science of it, but God, as you're speaking about God, God is involved in all of this. And God allows us to go through this for a reason, because in the final analysis, there's a purpose in the material that God uses for certain buildings that he has for a particular world that he's setting up. Okay. And the people have to go through certain conditions to prepare them to become the right type of material to never fall or to never be broken. And so when you get into the science, you begin to learn that all of our experience, slavery and all of this, it was by God's grace. In other words, it was God's method of preparing us to be rulers and to rule, but we would never lose our rulership ever again in all of our experiences. And so we have to, we can't be bitter with slavery because God allowed it. But we must try to understand what was his reason and his purpose. We must try to get into the mind of God, because ye are all God, children of the Most High. And so a lot of times, we stop growing, and so when we stop growing, we be satisfied with where we at. And because you may get a certain age, the mind never ages. It's always growing. It's always growing. And what makes God is because of force and power. And we all have that ability to assess force and power. Okay. And so when we think about what we have been through here in America, our 463 years of the most brutal slavery in the history of the annals of the planet, no people has ever went through what the people, black people in America has went through. But there was a purpose for it, and God was behind the whole purpose. And so we understand our witnessing, understand a point where we're about to be put, we'll be taken from the bottom to the top. We have been, it's like when you sit back and think about this, Queen, and a lot of us are so fearful. It's like something that bothered me the other day that was so painful. Okay. And that was the fact that I watched the news media, actually show a funeral of a dog.
Okay.
And I tried to scan to find out who was talking about it.
Okay.
But I looked at the mindset of the people who was actually standing around crying, and they were speaking in terms as if he was a good officer.
Okay.
But then there was a young man that was killed at the baby shower, and nobody's really saying anything. Nobody's really going into it. Okay. But I think about us and, just our minds, how we are. And only a few are really seem to be waking up, looking at reality, how it really is.
Okay.
And we were silent. We were really silent all across this country, really.
Sure.
But it showed, you understand, there are two different mindsets.
Yeah. I'm going to stay there for a minute. I'm going to tell you all, there's a book, and my dad and I just finished reading it, probably last year. Let me pull up the name of it. It's you all know that there's a difference between the brain and the mind, don't you? Did you all know that? Mm-hmm. There's a difference between the brain and the mind, and let me get a picture of the name of the book and while we're talking, because I don't think that we understand that. Like, if you if you don't understand the functionality of what it is that you have, how do you know how to best use it? Can I ask you that? How do you know how to then look at things, analyze things, be able to create and critique things? Because it starts off upstairs, up here. This is where it starts. This is the trigger for everything else that happens with you. So everything else that we see that's happening around us in this country and in this nation, and as you mentioned in the media, how do we best know how to manage any of that? Because it's how we think and process it. But we don't understand that. If you don't understand the difference between the brain and the mind, if you don't understand that you're supposed to be fearfully and wonderfully made and no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and do you want me to just keep quoting stuff? I can if you want me to, but I'm just saying, if you don't understand that, then what good is it? What are we here for? What does it look like? I'm just asking, and you all just indulge me for a minute. King, thank you so much. I got to get this other call in before we go to break. Love you guys too. Because there are different conversations that we can have. And you got to know, again, what the motivation is behind the conversation. And if you don't understand the emotion that it evokes, maybe it's just me. Let's go to the line. I'm going to find the name of this book. I'm looking through my archives. Mm-hmm. So thanks for your patience. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Colette and your guest.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
I think one of the greatest part of healing is to know thyself.
Okay.
Meaning, you got to know who you are and where you came from. When these people, when they came upon you, they took you out of your way of life and created a total way of life for you.
Okay.
You got to forget about slavery. Everything that blacks have experienced in America has been negative. Just think about it. If America started and you are a slave, everything they've done to you was negative. The only thing that's positive in America is the things that blacks brought to America. Okay. All their inventions and technology, stuff like that.
Okay.
You understand? Don't even think about that. The mortality and slavery movement.
Okay.
You need to think about the relationship you had with God prior to coming in contact with others. That's where most of the time about God is spent. You got a 300,000-year history with the Father. Okay. If you concentrate on all the positive things that you've done in the world with the Father prior to that, like that 26,000-year astrological clock that the brother treated. They did circles around the world in a direct line around the world. Okay. Concentrate on those things. These are positive things that you've done with the Father.
Okay.
You understand? So my faith is involved solely in the work. Work came before faith. What was the thing is faith? After the work was done, then faith came. Okay. You see what I'm saying? So if you concentrate solely on the work that you were involved in with the Father, those are all positive things.
Okay.
These things that these people do today is outside of God. I ain't trying to diss nobody, but being gay is outside of God.
Okay.
Polluting the water is outside of God. Okay. Polluting the air, the atmosphere is outside of God. So I think part of healing is concentrate on things that you did with the Father prior to coming in contact with others, because everything you've done come in contact with others has been negative to the black man and his mind and his brain. You understand? So if we could just quit kicking that can down the road and forget about all those things, you understand, and think of the relationship that you had with the Father prior to coming in contact with others. That's part of healing, because you're no longer thinking about these negative things that you've been exposed to here in America and around the world.
Sure.
And
But
thanks
stay there. And what you say, I appreciate you all. I appreciate everyone that calls in so much. But you realize that the mind that you have, you are so freeing and open to what the truths are. Because majority of us can't function outside of where we are right now. We don't function emotionally outside of this existence, my 47 years, or the life that my parents had before me. We don't even grasp an understanding that we are more than this. Mm-hmm. And we're definitely more than what America says we are. And then we're more than what has been imposed upon us emotionally and psychologically from America. Mm-hmm. If you understood that, absolutely. But so many of us don't understand that.
Right. All those things that we experience here in America are all negative. I'm going to say this last thing. I'm going to let the other callers get in. I got 4 books I just want to mention, and then I'm out.
Okay.
I got the Nile Valley Civilization by Anthony Brown. This tells you about all your accomplishments in Africa. Okay. Then I got the American Presence in Early Asia, which tells you all about your relationship you had with God in Asia. And I also have the First American were Africans, which tell you all about your 56,000-year relationship you had in America. The Father. Then I got the last, the Dogon faith, which is the Pale Fox. Once you read these 4 books, you locked into the relationship that you had with your Father prior to that, and all the accomplishments that you made with Him. That's why, and also these things show the love and the patience of God that He had with you prior to you coming to contact with others. If you concentrate on all those positive things you had and all those accomplishments you made, instead of concentrating on slavery and blaming the white, that's where all your agony comes from. Worrying about all this mistreatment that you've had since you've been here. Don't even be thinking about that. Right. Start thinking about the accomplishments you made with the Father prior to coming in contact with these others. And thanks for taking my call.
Thank you so much for calling. I mean, I just believe that the reason why we focus so much on that because we don't know what else to do. Because we're a group of people who have been told what to do. We were made. Do you not get that? I know a lot of you might not like what I'm about to say. The black person in America was made. Do you get that? We were told what to think, what to believe, how to act, how to live, everything that was presented to us and how we live right now, what majority of us is what was given to us. So it's different than other groups. So you talk about Polish, you talk about Italians, they're coming with their history, they're coming with who they were before, the Mayflower and all that other stuff before they came to America. That's what they walk in this with. They stay to their culture, they stay to their tradition, they're attached to that emotionally. There's an intelligence that says, I know from whence I've come, and so I'm going to just make this work for me. Majority of us didn't have that. Majority of us can't go past our parents. I can't tell you who my great-grandparents' names are. I don't. I know that my great-grandmother and her sister came off of the reservation in Oklahoma, and they populated the mountain they call Ramsey Mountain. They came off the Trail of Tears in Batesville, Arkansas, and then they became the matriarchs of that hill. I know that. I know my great-great-great-grandmother's on my dad's side is Jessie, was her name, and she's a Choctaw. But outside of anything else, I don't know. So how are we able to walk in an understanding of who we are supposed to be if we don't have an emotional attachment to our history? You're thinking about it. I want you all to think about it. So we're going to go to break. We'll be right back. I got the name of the book, and we're getting lines are lit. We're going to continue the conversation. It's Friday. This is the kind of conversations you want to have. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.